To this day, the United States has had 289 post-conviction exonerations. Of the wrongfully convicted who are fortunate enough to be exonerated, the average amount of time they will have spent in jail prior to this blessing is 13 years. After suffering through what these individuals have, there have been countless reports which show how spending this needless time in prison produces significant obstacles to their reintegration back into society. The time lost and spent behind bars has been known to create major setbacks in many areas such as home life, job opportunities, and of course their psychological and physical health. These side effects are proof that simply getting exonerated and the way exonerees are treated post-exoneration is not adequate compensation. If the judicial system wants to truly give these people the justice they deserve, forms of treatment and support to exonerees should be altered in the United States, and the utmost effort should be put towards eliminating all of the hurdles which their sentences have caused them. Evan Zimmerman is a man who was lucky enough to spend only 3 years in prison following his conviction of homicide before he was exonerated. Although 3 years is way below the average amount of time served, he was not so lucky in the end. The daunting challenges he faced during his time all started when he suffered from a stroke in prison. Following the incident, he got gradually sicker, and when he was finally freed, he had much trouble obtaining health care. His poor health was not the only factor which limited his job opportunities. A 3-year gap and a criminal record are not appealing traits on a job application. Even if he had found a job, it wasn't before long until he was too ill to work. His health and unemployment status made it extremely difficult to support his family. 2 years later, after much suffering and waiting for Evan, he passed away. Being in prison for those 3 years started a chain reaction of events which would ruin his life. This tragic story is not a unique one for the life of an exoneree, and had Evan Zimmerman never been wrongfully convicted, he just may still be alive today. Although Evan did not battle with this in his particular story, post-traumatic stress, panic attacks, fear of the outdoors, and many other symptoms which show psychological issues are very common for an individual post-exoneration. The long stretch of time that exonerees spend behind bars is bound to have serious impacts on the person's mind and sanity. The sudden transition from prison to the real world again is sometimes too overwhelming, and exonerees do not know how to deal with this. They often forget what life is like on the outside, and unfortunately, there is not much which can help this matter besides psychological treatment and patience. Studies and stories such as Evan Zimmerman's have shown substantial evidence on how life after exoneration can often be detrimental. The time spent out of the workforce, or even a simple background check, can prevent an exoneree from ever working a day again. If it isn't this which limits their ability to support their family, or even themselves, then the damage to their psychological or physical health will certainly become factors. The results of these studies will become more and more common unless changes are made to the way in which exonerees are compensated. There should be a push for change in the law which governs the civil relief available to exonerees in order to facilitate their transition back into society. A network of exonerees and people who seek to aid them should be built. This way, exonerees will know they are not alone, and they will also be confident that there are others out there who wish to help them. Lastly, vocational, educational, psychological, and housing counseling should be offered so the transition is less overwhelming, stressful, and emotional for both the exoneree and friends and family. The evidence shows that the current system is not sufficient enough, and this is not what our country and judicial system should stand for.